today, the Hound of Heaven draws alongside each one of us to tell us the tale of his 1,000-year-long pursuit of the ones he loves, the human family. This is precisely what we see Jesus doing in his walk with the two disciples on the road today. Luke tells us that after the two had told Jesus what they were talking about, Jesus responds, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Words which Thompson's beautiful poem echo, all of which thy child's mistake fancies as lost. It is their immaturity as Christians that prevents the two disciples from understanding the reason for what took place on Good Friday. But now, Jesus explains it to them. Luke goes on. Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. The disciples later recount that their hearts were burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us. What is the source of this burning heat within them but love? The love stoked into flame by love itself, telling his beloved all he has done out of love for them. That love is now stirred within the two disciples is evidenced by the fact that they show love to this stranger in an act of mercy, inviting him to stay with them. And then the moment comes, the moment that the scriptural lesson had been leading up to all along. While Jesus sat at table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. At that moment, we are told, the eyes of the two disciples were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. Notice that the way Luke describes what happens here echo what is said to have happened to Adam and Eve after eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The eyes of both were open, and they knew they were naked. At that moment, Adam and Eve realized that they had made a horrible mistake, and so they hid from God. Similarly, in having their eyes opened, Cleopas and Mary realized that they too have made a mistake. However, their mistake was in not seeing that the cross of Christ was the new tree of life, and that the death of Christ had destroyed their sin and death. And so, far from hiding from God, they run back to where it all happened, knowing in the breaking of the bread that new life was being offered to them. In their encounter with Christ, the two disciples are converted. In their experience of the risen Christ, the two recognize that he is saying to them, again in Thompson's words, "Rise, clasp my hand, and come." And where does Jesus point them? To himself, to his paschal mystery, to the place where those who follow him experience it all, the Eucharist. Thus, having traveled west, Cleopas and Mary literally convert their way, and now travel back east to Jerusalem. Notice, this is the same direction God once sent Adam and Eve. Since the time our first parents were expelled from Eden, the human family began its journey of conversion back to God, east to Jerusalem, the city where reconciliation with God was to take place through the incarnate Son, the city of peace. Traditionally, every church was set up facing east for the very same reason. In our worship, we as Christians are to face the rising of the Son of God incarnate. And each time we make our way liturgical east to the Mass, the Son draws alongside us to convert us back towards himself and the life he calls us to. He does this by breaking open the scriptures and showing us all he has done out of love for us. And once love has explained himself to us, he draws even nearer, breaks the bread, and says, "Take, this is my body, given for you." In these words, we too hear Christ say to us, "Rise, clasp my hand, and come." And having received the bread of life, the food of immortality, we are reinvigorated by this viaticum to continue our journey east toward the heavenly Jerusalem, where the risen sun never sets, but bathes all eternally in the glory of his light.
If you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button and check us out at freshimage.org. where you'll find commentaries and articles on countless topics important for becoming the unique image of God you have been created to be. And be sure to check out FRESHImageMedia.com, our sister company, to discover Christian home goods and gifts deeply rooted in Scripture that you won't find anywhere else.